with Joe Biden and the rest of the Democrat Marxists. He is none other than Michael Brown, the Michael Brown Show out of Washington, D.C. You can find him on Twitter and Facebook at MA Brown DC. Good evening, sir. It's a tremendous honor to have you on the air with us tonight.
Ken, always a pleasure.
Listen, uh, Meghan Markle did an offhanded back kind of thing in terms of endorsing your guy, Joe Biden. And you are a surrogate for Joe Biden. So, okay, I just want to ask you here, do you feel it wrong that a United Kingdom citizen is making inference into American politics?
Well, as long as they don't interfere, I mean, Putin has endorsed 45, so he's endorsed your guy. So, and not
Mm-hmm.
only has he endorsed your guy, he's actually interfering in our election. So,
Yeah, kind of
I don't
like,
think it's a problem for a foreign dignitary, foreign leader, or a foreign citizen to suggest who they support. The issue is whether they are trying to influence our elections, and Putin is peddling in our elections. So I think there's a clear difference in distinction.
well, I don't think it's a difference in distinction because apparently Xi Jinping is also endorsing Joe Biden. And the
I have
communist.
not seen that. I've heard that from people like you and Breitbart folks,
Mhm.
but I have not actually seen that. In fact, when the that question was posed to the head of the FBI, he said, of course, there are a lot of foreign actors trying to participate and cause confusion and chaos in our elections, but the only one that they're sure of is Russia.
Well, no, they're not saying that either. As someone who involves himself in foreign policy, that all nations involve themselves in the political strife of other nations. Uh,
As we do,
and,
as we do as well.
exactly, but it's kind of uh, seemingly Teflonish that somehow only Donald Trump is endorsed by an evil power, and I don't necessarily know where Russia stands in terms of its influence on the American people. I doubt very seriously if there's any great influence whatsoever, if any. Uh, but you also have Xi Jinping, who does have a great influence on the American people, especially when you have the recent Mulan movie, where they actually had jurisdiction over the characters and the actual writing of the script. They have a great influence on the American people. And quite frankly, Meghan Markle, who was once an American actress, still an American citizen by dual citizenship, she and Prince Harry also have a great deal of influence. It, but does that influence mean it's good or bad for the American people? Because quite frankly, I make my own decisions. What do you say, sir?
I think you and I both do. But I
Mm-hmm.
think, like anything else, the voter puts everything in the blender. They put, a celebrity that I like is endorsing the other person or my candidate. My
Mm-hmm.
elected official is supporting the candidate. My neighbor likes the particular candidate. They put it all in the blender. Oh, I saw a nice commercial the other day. Put that in the blender. Oh, I saw a fake commercial the other day. Put
Oh,
that in the
oh.
blender. And
Mm-hmm.
the voter, I have faith in the voter that they actually believe and can kind of filter out what's good, what's bad, what's fake, what isn't, and then make a decision. All voters are independent thinkers, and if some people care about Miss Markle's opinion, fine.
Mm-hmm. Uh, would you also say the very same thing about Putin and Xi Jinping then? Uh, that they
I say
too.
the same thing about them as I do about David Duke and white supremacists who are all supporting and endorsing 45.
I don't believe that David Duke
So
this year endorsed uh,
yeah, do I want to support? Do
Donald
I
Trump.
want to support a candidate where the former head of the KKA is supporting? Maybe not.
Well, I will be taking a look, but I also believe that David Duke did endorse this year Joe Biden.
If he did, I hadn't heard that.
Mm-hmm.
If he did, I'm sure the vice president will disavow that endorsement.
Uh-huh.
And second or third, I would almost guarantee he did it just for people like you and people at Breitbart to say, see, he endorsed Biden when everybody knows it's not true.
Well, the bottom line is, if he did that, does he have an influence? Because apparently, when he endorses Donald Trump, he has influence. When he endorses Joe Biden, you disavow it and say, no influence whatsoever.
Correct.
Isn't that not critically thought through? Because if he has influence on one side and not the other, then the whole case and idea about foreign power.
That's not what I'm saying, and I still stand by what I said, is each voter puts in their blender, and only what I said. And if there's somebody is, David Duke endorsed John Smith, wow, do I want to endorse the same person that David Duke is, or is it just some kind of tactic? So I filter it and put it out of my head.
All right. Listen, apparently the USPS, United States Postal Service, has basically been a mark in the side of the Trump administration. And quite frankly, there is the pattern here of the United States Postal Service of its intent to support the Democrat candidate. As of today, in the wonderful state of Wisconsin, there is an investigation going on in terms of absentee ballots being discarded by mail carriers of the U.S. Postal Service. I want to ask you something. Is the problem Donald Trump, or is the problem the U.S. Postal Service, which endorses Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, I know that the United States Postal Service hasn't endorsed Joe Biden, and that's unfair for you to put that kind of fake news out.
The unions have endorsed.
The Postal Service, keep in mind, is being run by a Trump appointee. So I'm not sure why you have that hypothesis, but nonetheless, the United States Postal Service should just care about fairness, delivering folks prescriptions, delivering their checks, delivering their mail from loved ones, and yes, even delivering a ballot on time. That's what the United States Postal Service is all about. Keep in mind also, yeah, I get that it's maybe running some deficits, but it is not supposed to be a money maker.
Yes, it is.
It's supposed to have a delivery service for the United States government and for the people within. So I don't know if that really makes any sense either. Again, another Breitbart talking point.
Well, I know that you, as a former council member, looked over the district governor's contracts with entities that were supposed to perform services that were cost saving, and found out that those entities charged a whole lot more to the government because it was guaranteed money. I find it disdainful that you don't think that the enterprise of government should be cost saving to the American people who work so hard and give up their tax dollars to make certain that they receive the services that they are endowed to. Also, in addition to that, they have $7 billion sitting on the sidelines right now at the U.S. Postal Service to make certain that the election process goes off well. So,
great, good to hear.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You all tell us that because they're doing the same thing that Amazon is doing, modernizing, that somehow that is a trite to the whole.
Questioning the modernization. The question is the timing. The modernization issues could have waited until November 4th. We're talking 40 days away, 39 days away, depending on how you count it. So depending on how you look at it, it wasn't necessary right now. It was necessary right now for the GOP to delay some of those ballots so they don't get counted to help Trump. That's what's so incredibly just the gall when he comes up in front of microphones and his allies to say, the election is rigged. So does that mean if 45 wins, it was also rigged? Or it's only if he loses it's rigged? He is a disgrace and embarrassment. And frankly, if somebody put up articles for impeachment again, even at this late date, the votes would be there.
Well, I got to ask you something, because you know when Obama ran for office, that you saw Obama signs all over the place. They had it on people's cars, on people's children. They had tats they were wearing in the street, T-shirts. Obama. Where are the Joe Biden T-shirts? Where are the Joe Biden signs in people's yards? Do you see them around the city?
All over the place.
No.
Well, DC's in all fairness, obviously, to your viewers, you have a national audience. In all fairness, DC is a little different. You're going to see many more Joe Biden signs than you do 45 signs. But if you roll through Northern Virginia, and I know that certainly has become the tail that wags the dog for the state of Virginia relative to making it from a red state to a purple state, now a blue state, you see Biden signs. I don't see many Trump signs at all.
Well, I see
That includes in suburban Maryland. So, again, I'm sure there are some. If you roll through Idaho or one of those red states, I guess you'll see some Trump signs. So to answer your question, no, I don't see any Trump signs.
Well, I don't see too many Biden signs, especially in Southeast Washington, D.C., which is a caveat of basic advocacy and activism for the Democrat Marxist Party. In fact, I rarely ever see a Biden sign. In fact, I turned the corner on 44th Place and saw my first one this weekend on a house on the hill.
But when I used to obviously run for office, and you want to put signs in people's yards, you want to put them on lamp posts and street poles and the like. But in all fairness, signs don't vote. People do. And it's nice to have visibility, and that's important. I don't know what percentage of that in every campaign it's important. Some it's more, some it's less. But it's people that vote. And those folks at 44th Street or 44th Place in Southeast that you just referred to, I can't give a percentage, but I bet most of them will be voting for Joe Biden to get 45
So
out.
Are you telling me that they have the same enthusiasm as Donald Trump, which can fill up a airport venue?
Who cares about little rallies? Governor Dukakis, when he ran against Bush, filled up Pauley Pavilion at UCLA at about 35, possibly 40,000 people because they were in the stands and on the floor in Pauley Pavilion, and he lost. So I don't know why does he care how big his rallies are? It's he has 33% of solid support. That's his base. Yes, no one is questioning that. That's his. But the rest of the folks, he hasn't tried to expand his tent, so I'm not really worried about whether he has a rally with 20,000 people. Who cares? They don't even have a mask. So they're not even helping themselves, their neighbors, or their grandparents. It's ridiculous.
I believe that they are, and I believe that we have watched the promulgation of this whole idea of hockey stick science and witchcraft medicine upon the American people. Remember now, there were 2.5 million Americans that were supposed to die. We were all supposed to die if there was no effort made by the administration to deal with this issue. And over 30 million cases were supposed to come to bear.
Are you kidding?
Yet,
over 200,000 people, Americans, have died. The CDC came out and said there are actually 25,000 additional that aren't counted in the original count.
And also the CDC.
Disaster.
Also the CDC.
Disaster. Look, he didn't start the virus, and I haven't heard one person claim that he did. But because of his inaction, calling it a hoax, downplaying
he didn't call it a hoax.
Words, it has become a disaster for this country. The economy, the Obama economy that he rolled the tails on, is now in shambles. Unemployment keeps growing. Jobs are not coming back.
That's not
true. I know when you drive down, whether it's 44th Place or other parts of D.C. or other parts of our region, you're now seeing boarded up buildings. In fact, I was driving through, coming back from a part of Northern Virginia, and you know they have legal seafood? I don't know the name of the road, Route 1.
Yeah.
It's closed. It's gone.
Exactly.
And that gives you an idea. I was in Pentagon Mall, did a piece of my show from Pentagon City Mall the other day. It looked like a ghost town. He has put this economy and jobs in shambles. Obama did everything he could to get this thing up and running.
Oh my gosh!
On the coattails, and now it's in shambles.
It's not in shambles. In fact, the unemployment rate keeps falling. He's bringing millions of jobs back online. But it seems to be states like California and New York and Connecticut and New Jersey and cities like Washington, D.C. and Atlanta and Chicago, Montgomery County, and Northern Virginia that's doing everything that they can not to open up America to business. And in fact, it's the governors and the mayors that have shut these particular cities down. In fact, Mayor Muriel Bowser, let me just say this real quick. Mayor Muriel Bowser,
There's some rational,
Mayor Muriel Bowser,
reasonable leadership, because none of that rational leadership is coming from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And yes, the governors want their states open. Mayors want their cities open.
no,
for the economies.
that's not
But
true.
you can't get people also back to school if it's not safe.
So are you, oh, okay.
Just open up so it helps me win re-election. How irresponsible is that?
So are you calling Mayor Muriel Bowser irresponsible, who said that during the beginning of August that they would not reopen schools until January, and now after seeing the absolute failure of spending so much money on online distance learning, that they have figured out that they can't do it. They need to be in the classroom, and they need to be in the classroom starting in November. She changed her mind. Do you think that
everyone wants students in the classroom? Everybody wants that. Nobody wants the online.
Really?
However, Mayor Bowser did what she was supposed to do. She followed the science. And as the numbers started to dip and go down in the District of Columbia, yes. And in fact, one of her press conferences, she actually said she actually reserved the right to change her mind if the science dictated it.
Okay, let me ask you.
Dictated it, and hence she changed her mind and the schools are opening.
Well, I ask you this, because no, it's not good leadership, because you all changed your mind. You said 14 days when you started. Then you said based on the number of deaths, and actually there have been more people who have been killed in the District of Columbia over her tenure than have been killed in the entire span of the few months that we were expecting hundreds of thousands of people to die on the streets. In addition to that, she is making edicts and making changes. Do you want a government where one person changes their mind and so everyone else must follow that rule? Do you believe in that?
The great thing about America is that once their leadership is in place and you see the decisions they made during their term, if you don't like their decision, you can vote them out. In Russia, that's not the case. In other places where they're dictators, not the case. Here in America, on November 3rd, folks will have the opportunity, if they don't like the judges, if they don't like the policies, if they don't like the racist rants, if they don't like those kind of discrimination things, and also the non-equality when it comes to police brutality here in America, and justice systems here in America, one for black folks, one for white folks, then you have an opportunity on November 3rd to vote those folks out. If you like what's happening, then you vote for them. That's the beauty of democracy.
Well,
you don't like it, but that's the beauty.
I want to ask you before you go, the Senate GOP released their report about the Obama administration ignoring the glaring warning signs of Hunter Biden's corrupt behavior in the Ukraine, and the difference that it would take in terms of instituting justice. Apparently, Joe Biden not only punishing the Ukraine with the threat of $1.5 billion of federal aid being taken away from them if Hunter Biden's foe, the attorney general there, was not fired. But in addition to that, millions of dollars from Burisma went into the pockets of Hunter Biden only because he had a relationship with his father in the White House. What say you, sir? The corruption. Is that what we can expect of Joe Biden in the next 4 years?
Well, I know one thing, and clearly the Hunter Biden fiasco and fake news that I guess your good friend Giuliani is making up along the way really hasn't had any credence. No one believes it. There isn't anything concrete except for a lot of hyperbole. But nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
I think the last place this president wants to go is to talk about related to family corruption. Are you kidding?
No, not at
Eric
all.
Trump is now about to appear before the New York Attorney General under sworn oath deposition before November 3rd. He tried to move it outside, away from the election. Let's see what happens. Ivanka Trump, as you know, who I've met and have a lot of respect for, clearly extremely smart, talented business person, is getting trademarks while she's working in the White House for her fashion line. Really? I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. Then you have D. Jr., who is out peddling unbelievable conspiracy theories every 10 minutes. It's absolutely appalling. So I don't know if DT Sr. really wants to go down the path of family.
I
maybe
think
he should just stick with the two principles and let's see what happens.
no, I think they are going down the right course in the right direction in this particular situation.
Well, then it opens the door for his own family situations, and we'll see.
Well,
again, that all goes into the blender. The voter will say, "Oh, here's what the Trump kids are doing. Here's what Hunter allegedly did. If he did anything wrong at all, they put it in the blender. They make their decision."
So you're okay with Hunter Biden receiving not only $4 million from Burisma, but also $3.5 million wire transfer from Elena Baturina, the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. You're okay, since Moscow is influencing elections, you're okay with that situation.
He's a private, I don't understand, first of all, the concern. He's a private citizen. Just like I wouldn't have a problem if Miss Trump, Ivanka Trump, was getting her trademarks from China if she was still at the Trump organization. No one have a problem with that. That's not the issue. She's working in the White House. So you can't do both.
So
that's the whole point about conflict and the emolument clause. But clearly, they don't care.
Well, that's
any of it.
I think that's quite amazing because in this particular case, Hunter Biden, who was traveling on the White House 2 airplane with his father on his way to Ukraine.
You're allowed to do that.
Of course you are.
The rules have changed in the last few years, but you're allowed to do that if you pay for a first-class ticket back.
Oh, not worried about the first-class ticket. Worried about the fact that the corrupted influence of Joe Biden peddling his power as Vice President of the United States opened up doors and revenue for Hunter Biden and the rest of his family.
In the blender. Put Eric Trump going in front of a sworn deposition in front of the New York attorney's office before November 3rd. Put that in the blender. Put it all in the blender, and let's see where the American voter comes out.
Let me ask you something. Would you be open? I don't think Chris Wallace would do it, but Kevin Clinton would. Would you be open to Joe Biden, who can't stay at the podium more than 5 minutes without missing a mark or making a gaffe, answering the question of whether he influenced the Ukraine to make monetary support to Hunter Biden, even though he was not qualified to sit on any of the boards?
I don't understand your question, but if there's a deal to be had, sure. As long as he releases his tax returns before November 3rd so we can see how unrich he really is.
We thank you so much, Michael Brown, for coming on tonight.
And keep in mind, he claims now that he's not raising as much money as Vice President Biden, that he'll put some of his own money in.
Of course.
He actually does that.
Of course. He did last time. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, how much did he put in? Do you know how much he put in?
Not the exact figure, but I know for a fact that he did. And I'll give that exact figure to you.
That
Also, before you go.
If you're a billionaire like he claims, you would have written $1 billion check and not care.
Also, before.
Real rich is Bloomberg rich.
Also.
Jeff Bezos rich.
Oh,
Trump
yeah.
is not one of those kind of rich.
Oh, no, he's never proclaimed himself to be, but he is the richest.
Yes,
he's the richest president in the history. Now, before you go, I want to make clear that David Duke did not endorse Joe Biden. However, the other white supremacist Richard Spencer endorsed Joe Biden. White supremacist Richard Spencer endorsed Joe Biden.
Anything, it's some kind of tactic. It's not real.
Okay.
Not gonna vote for Joe Biden.
And guess what? Guess what, Mike? It wasn't real when David Duke endorsed Donald Trump. We can play that game. We can. Love you, man.
You play that game with your friends and allies. It's easy.
No, hey, listen. I even with the other side, it's amazing how much power other countries and other people have, except for when they has to deal with Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe Biden. Michael Brown, the Michael Brown Show at MA Brown DC. If you want creepy, vote Joe Biden. There you go. Love you, brother.
But Candy, I always appreciate you having me on. As you know, there's another lawsuit against Trump for another sexual assault allegation. So if you want to talk about creepy, he's really the creepy one.
Yeah. Let's just say, would you want your daughter to be sitting with Joe Biden with his smelling of her hair? Would you want that, sir?
I think you want Trump next to either.
No, see, but I thank you for that statement there, sir, because that's an endorsement of my idea. I wouldn't want my daughter around Joe Biden either. Thank you, Mike.
Joe's fine. Trump is not.
Joe Biden. Tell me real quick, Mike, who's going to win the debate on Tuesday?
Well, I don't think it really matters. As you know, I don't have. I'm very skeptical about whether there are any undecided voters anyway. I just don't think there are. I think even people that say they're undecided, I don't believe them. I'm not saying there are a couple people that may, I'm not sure. I think most people have made up their minds. The debate is to hopefully get some policy discussion out. And I can't wait for Trump to start lying because the vice president is going to fact check him right then. The networks won't do it. The vice president will do it. And then he'll be called a liar in front of the country, even though everybody knows that.
Mike, let's just be real. For the Democrat Marxists, if Joe Biden stands up for the entire debate, you all will proclaim him the winner. He ain't got to do anything else.
Well, I mean, frankly, Trump is the one that's lowered the expectation for the vice president. So, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Again, nobody's mind is going to change when this is over. There'll be a poll that'll come out. Oh, who won the debate? Who lost? And obviously we'll see what the number says. But it's not going to move the needle relative to who people are voting for.
I think it will.
So then there's going to be another debate. And if you think for a second that Pence is going to be able to hold a candle.
Oh, my God.
Harris, oh, my goodness, she's going to chew him up and spit him out. I'm going to lower expectation for that one. I know that's going to be a mess.
Will Kamala bring her mattress? That's all we want to know.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Will Kamala bring her mattress? That was her nickname by her ex-boyfriend. The mattress. There you go. Will she bring it?
I've never heard that. Right stuff again. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that means.
You need to talk to the San Francisco mayor. Listen, man, we love you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Willie Brown has a lot of respect for Senator Harris.
Yeah.
One of her mentors.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, sure. Michael Brown, ladies and gentlemen. Love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Can talk to you next week.
All right, sir. Michael Brown, ladies and gentlemen. If you want the Democrat Marxist point of view, I guarantee you we will not stop you from hearing it. But you got to ask yourself, a man who wouldn't want his own daughter, Michael Brown said he wouldn't want his own daughter around Joe Biden. You want to vote for him to have power during a time of a pandemic? You want him to be the one in charge of the nuclear codes? You want him to be the one responsible for recovering this economy? Creepy, sleepy Uncle Joe. Do you really want to? And I can't find too many Democrats that are excited by that. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Breonna Taylor. In that particular case, $12 million is not a sign of guilty. We'll talk about that. Dave Milder will be coming up in the second hour of our program as well. Stay tuned.